Hey,
Hi,
hi, how are you?
I'm good. A little sleepy, but I'm pretty good. I went to the zoo today, so.
All right, how are you settling down under?
I actually settled down pretty easily. I mean, I didn't have internet for about a week, and I was kind of freaking out a little because I'm still in school. So when I was I was able to email my teachers. I was like, "Oh, hey, I don't have any Wi-Fi, and I can't turn it work on Sundays like I'm supposed to." And they pretty much were like, "Oh, that sucks. Sucks for you. Yeah, I don't care." So I was kind of, "Oh, okay." So I had to like write a 9-page paper in like 2 hours. So
Mm,
yeah, it was kind of tough.
well, at least you get it done.
I'm done. I'm like, okay, next thing, next week. But yeah.
Right. So, all right. So, like any other episode, in the Filipina series, tell us about your love affair with football and how how it all started.
So I started playing soccer at the age of 5. I would watch a friend of our families. I would watch her play, and I kind of was like, "Oh, I want to try that too." So my parents put me in ASO, which is the general league in the different cities in the states, and I started it, and then I haven't stopped. So it's definitely a very long love affair, I would say, because I have been doing it longer than that original sport that I was in. I was also a junior Olympic swimmer, so I had to cast aside that. Of course, that made my mom really sad, but it's okay because I knew deep in me, even at a young age, I knew that soccer was definitely going to get me farther than swimming, and honestly, that I have proof because now look where I am. I'm in this beautiful country of Australia, and now I'm a part of the history of the Philippines making it to the World Cup for the very first time. So I hope that I get to continue my legacy on the team and be a part of the additional history that we're going to make.
Right. So, at what point did you know that it was soccer that you were going to focus on?
Um, it was probably around the age of 13 because that's when my sister actually stopped swimming around age 13, 14. And when it came to swimming, me and her were really close because we would compete at the same time, like different times of the days. But when I saw that she graduated high school and she no longer was going to be where I was, I had to make that decision. Like, do I really want to keep doing it or should I focus on the other sport I'm enjoying? So I made that conscious decision and saying, I think I'm going to continue soccer. And I did. And at the time, my dad was actually my coach. So I did have that support of him saying, like, okay, you really want to concentrate on this and this is what we're going to do. And he continued coaching me. He started coaching me when I was about 7 years old, all the way until I was a senior in high school. So it was a really long time. And I would always get questions like, how hard is it having your dad as your coach? I'm like, oh, it's the hardest thing ever because it's your dad. He can't be nice to me if he shows favoritism in any way. It's not good. So I had to also put aside the fact that he was my dad and had to look at him as a coach, and he had to also put aside that I'm his daughter. He has to look at me athlete. You're like everyone else. But you're gonna get pushed harder because you're my daughter. So, but that honestly made me the player I am today. Like I'm very like wouldn't say hard headed, but I'm able to like control my emotions and control the way I react to some things. So like when people yell at me, I'm kind of like I'll take it in. Maybe I'll like internally like battle myself, but like honestly, the different coaches I've had throughout the years I've been playing definitely have shaped me into the character I am today. So I'm very thankful for everyone that has been a part of my journey in some way, no matter if it's been 2 weeks, a day, a few hours. They owe it. Every single person that has been a part has molded me in some type of way.
Gotcha. That sounds tough. It's
Yeah,
it's different to have your one of your parents mentor you or coach you when you're doing something that
yeah, and
you're
like
passionate about.
yeah, like my dad was my coach, and then my mom was the manager of the team. So
Ah,
it was like, oh gosh, because like those sayings when you're in the car and you're like, oh my gosh, like my dad, you hear your dad's like driving and like No, you should have done this better. It's even 10 times worse. Both your parents are like the manager and the coach of the team, and you're like getting double. And it's like you're getting the coach side and the parent side. And I was just like, oh gosh. But honestly, yeah, it was tough at times. There would be times where I would butt heads with them. But honestly, like it did get me where I am now. So it's everything was worth it. Every tears I shed, every blood, sweat, and tears, you know that saying, it definitely went into every second of my career. And like I said, I wouldn't be here without them. So
Gotcha. So, Kiara, I know that you're one of Mark's early discoveries years ago. Can you tell us how you were scouted and eventually invited to try out for the Caps?
okay, so how this entire journey started, I've been asked this question, like, how did this even happen? Because of course, like the tryouts was kind of like sprung up on me. I was in college, but it all started when I was about, I believe, 12 years old. I was about 12 years old. I was at goalkeeper training at Cerritos Park, and at the time, the then senior team was, I think, was doing a tournament there. I forgot what it was called. I like had it in my head, but my goalkeeper training, I was like, oh, that's the Philippine national team. I am 12-year-old me, dead after goalkeeping training, and I think at the time it was Ernie Nieves was the coach, so it was way back when, and I was just like, okay, so and then actually Chandler and Olivia were there, so like I didn't know who they were at the time, but like I see pictures, and I'm like, oh wait, I know her, I know her, I know her. So like it's kind of like weird how everything kind of turned out. So I was able to do the last 20 minutes of practice with them, and Ernie pulled me aside, was like, you are very young, and I think at the time they were in the works of having a youth team, but I was still too young for that youth team. So they're like, we're gonna watch you develop, and we're gonna just watch you grow. And I was like, okay, so fine. So fast forward about 4 to 5 years, I was around 16, 17, and I get invite to join the team at the same park where I met the then senior team at Cerritos Park. And I remember I was super excited. I still have all the jerseys from that we got. Like we had like the one with all the sponsors. I have all of it, and it's like a lot of like, oh my god, like this was so long ago. Um, and then so I went to that tryout. They loved me. They wanted me to be on the youth team. And so when we didn't know what steps we needed to take because it was still very unclear what we needed to do. Because I think the way that I approached it is like I needed to make the team first before I even thought of paperwork. So I didn't even know what we had to do. So fast forward about last year, I was in college. I got an email. I got a text from my dad and an email pretty much around the same time. And my dad's like, you got an invite from the Philippine national team for a tryout. And I was like, what? Okay. When? And it was in November. And at that time, it was around the same time as playoffs for my team in college. So I had to make that conscious decision. Like, you know what? I love you girls, but this is something bigger. This can be something bigger for me. And I'll come back. It's fine. Whatever. So I went to the tryout, and I remember this is where I met like Dom, and it was like me and her were stuck together because we were like, oh shit, we're the two pretty much the two finalists that were on the team. But I remember it went from like 160 girls to 20 girls to 10, and we're just like, oh my gosh, what happened? And so eventually, I made the final cut with Dom, and we started into the camp before India, and we kept going. We were training every day, and we would have scrimmages here and there. And of course, this was during the time of COVID, so it was like really tough. Some people were in houses, some people were in hotels, some people were in their own respective homes, like me. And then I think it was about 2 weeks before we leave, Coach Allen pulls me aside. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in trouble. Or because he was on making like, he kept explaining like, oh, there's still gonna be cuts that are gonna be made. And I was like, oh my god, he's cutting me. I was complete fear. I was like, oh my gosh, here it is. I'm ready. It's okay. I got this. And he was like, don't tell anyone this. Don't tell anyone I'm gonna tell you this. And I was like, okay. And then he told me personally, he told me that I was on the team. And I had to like hold in my emotions because none of the girls knew yet. So I was like, okay, cool. So I had to go through the entire training. thinking that, and of course I was very happy. And I remember I got in the car with my dad, and I had like put on a little show. I was like, yeah, Alan pulled me aside. He told me something, and my dad's like, and the dread on my dad's shoulder. I was like, I made the team, and then his eyes just lit up, and he was like, oh my gosh. Thank God. I was like, oh my God. And then we got, and I remember and this was like a moment for me and my dad, because after all these years, we sat in the car, and my dad never cries, never sheds it. It's really, really rare to see him cry. I heard like him sniffling, and I thought he was like clearing his throat. And I looked to my left, he's crying. He's like, oh my God, I just can't believe this is happening. And I was like, are you crying? And then he's like, oh my God, we should celebrate. We should do this. And I was like, you know what? We need to go home. I have this saying, like, I always follow this saying, like, God has a plan for everything. Everything happens for a reason. And honestly, that was definitely a reason. And I remember that day we were walking like back to our car, and in my family, we signify orange monarch butterfly with my Lola. So we saw two of them, and I was like, oh, there they are. And my dad, like, I think that's when my dad started crying, because he's like, oh my God, they're here with you. And it was like really sentimental, because it's like, okay, they were here. They knew that they needed to be here. And for us, it was like, oh my gosh, everything's good now. We're all good. So it was really cool. It was really cool seeing that. And it was cool seeing my dad kind of like being like super relieved, because I knew he was under a lot of stress. So seeing him like, it was really nice.
Right. Wow. Yeah, I've
Mhm.
heard it far too many times from different
Yeah.
players. All right, so we're here. Let's talk about your first cap against Australia and in the Asian Cup. So that was very surprising to a lot of people because you were new,
Mhm.
and of course it was against Australia. I know that you arrived late in the camp. So tell us about that experience. How did it feel, and what was your mentality like coming into the game?
So definitely it was a surprise. I'm not gonna lie. Kind of just got sprung up. I remember we were having a keeper meeting with Ina, Liv, and I, with our then coach Ludo. And Alan was just kind of sitting in the back listening. After the keeper meeting, he sauntered to the front, and he kind of like sat down. He was like, okay, obviously the next game is going to be a big one, because it's against Australia. Of course, you have Sam Kerr, one of the best strikers in the world, playing. And it's like, oh God, you have Alec Carpenter. And it's like, okay, here. And like in my head, I was kind of really relaxed, because I trained myself to be really relaxed and like in front of Alan, because I can't like be super nervous. And I remember he turned to Liv, and he was like, we're gonna rest you. And I was like, okay. I was like, okay, cool. So I was like, what me or Ina are gonna play? And like over the process of the camps and everything, me and Ina and Liv, we all got really close. And me and Ina got really close as well. So I was like, oh, cool. But unfortunately, on circumstance, I think we all saw during when we did beat Chinese Taipei, Ina had a cast. So they had to take in consideration, like, okay, we can't force you to do something where it can make it worse. And then he turns to me. He was like, you're going to play. And I'm not going to lie. I know it didn't look like it. I was so nervous, but I had to keep that calm. I was like, okay, cool. And he's like, but him and the staff were so amazing during that entire time, because I also would watch the previous games. And the previous game before they played us, they beat Indonesia about 13-0 or 15-0, something like that. And I do not want that to happen to us. I will prevent that as much as I can. But they were amazing, and they were saying, like, you know what? It's your first cap. Have fun with it. There's nothing to lose. Nothing's gonna happen if we win, lose, or tie. Nothing's gonna happen. So they were very helpful in the fact where they would lift a lot of the pressure off of me. So I definitely would thank them for that. And so practice, we worked on a few things, and the day of the game, you can see, I think Haley was kind of talking to me like during when we were kind of like standing there. I was trying to like be really calm, but I wanted to go into that game like, I know everyone was nervous. There's a lot of chatter in the locker room. Like you can feel the tension. Like, oh my gosh, this is Australia, and this isn't like one of the smaller teams we played. This is a big top 10 in the world kind of team. We're like, you know what? We're gonna try our best. We're gonna do what Coach Allen has been asking us to do, and Coach Naz and all that, and we're gonna just do it. And so I had to go into the game with the mindset I cannot show fear, because if I show fear, they're gonna feed off of it. So I think I definitely I felt like I did a good job of it, but after rewatching the game, I was like, oh my gosh, you can see the fear in my eyes. It's like so funny to me. But my defense, oh my gosh, they were absolutely amazing. I don't where people write articles like, oh, Fontanilla kept the shutout in the first half, and I was like, it wasn't just me; it was my entire back line as well. They did an absolutely phenomenal job in that entire half, and even the second half. Even though we got 4 goals scored on me, I couldn't have been more prouder to be a part of the team and be on the field with those girls, because they fought until the very end. Like at the end of the game, you could see a lot of us just collapsing, even me, and I don't even move that much. So that was definitely a win to remember, and like a lot I've seen, it was a baptism by fire, and definitely was, and it was just like even I remember I told my dad I called him the day that Alan told me I was gonna play. I called him and I was like, Dad, you're gonna have to like stay up until like 4 a.m. And he was like, why? And I was like, I'm playing. And he's like, wait, you're playing Australia? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, oh my gosh. And like, it was just like, he was excited. My mom was scared for me because she's like, oh my God, that's like a big team. That's a big deal. I was like, yeah, Mom. But I got it. I'm fine. I'm confident. I got this. And so before the game, my father sent me a video of a lot of my friends and my family wishing me good luck. And of course, I'm in my hotel room, I'm crying, watching this right before the game. But it gave me that strength and that power to fight, and like the additional power and strength to fight. And honestly, like I've said before, I wouldn't be here without the support of my friends and family. And watching that video before the game, it was amazing, and it definitely helped me get through that entire game without a breakdown. So I'm pretty happy. And so I was very grateful for the opportunity that Coach Stadge, Coach Allen, Coach Naz, Coach Ludo back then, Coach Red, all of our medical staff, they were there making sure everything was okay. Seeing them like, oh, and Coach Luca, I can't forget Luca. They were making sure, like they're running around making sure the pickle juice, the gels and everything. So they were like, they fight for our success as much as we fight for it. So having a staff that supportive surrounding us is amazing, and I couldn't ask for anything better.
Yeah, it was definitely a baptism by fire. I tell you that. I was nervous
Oh yeah.
myself. Yeah, a lot of us were like, who is the new keeper? Yeah, at that time we were just, all of us were just like, we can't afford to lose by 10 or by 13. So we were nervous about
Trust
that.
me, that's yeah, I was nervous about that too. And I was like, my God, they just beat Indonesia like 13-15-0. And I was like, you know what? Can't think about that. I have to think about like, this is another team. Sam Kerr, another player. Ali Carpenter, another player. It's fine. And
Right.
honestly, I went into the game with that, and we succeeded. The score to us, yes, score will always matter in the tacticality part, but the score mattered in our hearts, knowing that we can perform and compete with teams of that caliber for sure.
Right, right. And you did well. It's not just the back line. We're doing, a lot of defending and really did a great job, but you did save a couple of, shots from Alana Kennedy. Well, she's my favorite Matilda's defender. So I was like, oh, okay, if she can save a shot from Alana Kennedy, okay, she's good enough. I'm okay.
Yeah, that shot was that header was definitely like, she's tall. She's really tall. I remember it was like during a corner, she stood next to me, and I was like, okay, I got this. I can jump higher than her. So that's fine. But I remember that exact play you're talking about, and yeah, that was. I just remember I was watching. I got like highlighted in the AFC Instagram, and it was funny to me because I didn't. I was so focused on the stuff that I didn't hear like Serena like cheering me on, and that's all I hear now. And it's like, okay, yeah, and I love that I have that support from my teammates as well. So
I just remember Serena's reaction because
yeah,
it was too
I gonna
loud.
look. But hey, it was just great. I love watching that, and it's like now me and Serena we grew close together as well. So like I'm growing close with each of my teammates, which is great because I like growing up. I didn't really have the best time with like trying to bond with my teammates, but like this team has definitely been one of the easiest, and because we're all fighting for one thing and the same thing, and we all want to succeed. So I think having that similarity between each other makes us grow closer.
And what do you love most about being a goalkeeper? Has it always been like a goalkeeper position that you wanted to play, or
Um, I
like
kind of wouldn't say I had a choice in it. I kind of was thrown into it because when I first started playing soccer, there was no goalies. There's just the goals. They would just put me in front of the goal as like a goalkeeper. I wasn't allowed to use my hands, and I was actually really good at it. And my reaction was great for a 5-year-old. And I think my dad, being an athlete himself, he was a tennis player. He saw that, and this is a joke how I tell everyone this is how I became a goalkeeper. My dad would stand maybe like 1, 2 feet from me and just throw the ball at my face. I would let the ball hit my face. It hit the ground. I'll pick it up. I'll give it to him. And he kept doing that. He realized that I had no fear for the ball. So kind of just jumped in. And I grew and grew and grew and grew. And 17 years later, here I am, still doing it. I would say my favorite part of being a goalkeeper, of course, the saves we have to make, the saves that people don't think we're gonna make, but we make them anyway when we make it look easy. I definitely like the fact that like we're seen as what we call the 11th player because we're not always in the game, but we're definitely a vital part to the team because we are the ones that see everything. We are the ones that can help the defenders, the midfield, the forwards with the direction, with where they should be playing, where how they should be positioned. So we also have to take that responsibility in. And so being able to help them in any way, whether it's me, of course, doing the shot stopping or them with just communicating, just talking, I think that would probably be my favorite. The fact that I could, besides Coach Allen and Coach Naz, that I'm able to also communicate with them without like them like freaking out that they can't hear Coach Allen because of the crowd or whatever. But we all have to play a part in that communication. So I think being able to start that communication is probably like my favorite part.
gotcha? But if you have to choose a different position, where would you play?
Oh, center striker, hands down. Hands down, center striker right there. I think it's because also we like goalkeepers. We're like we're kind of like in the back. We don't get as much quote unquote glory. I don't care for the glory. I'm there to play. I'm there to perform for my team. But it doesn't hurt to like score a few goals and like being able to run with the team while instead of me being a goalkeeper, my team scores. I'm in the back like woo, yeah! Like okay, that's great. But definitely is. I would love to be a striker. I tell like my friends and all. I was like, yeah, like don't underestimate my shot. I can because I can shoot with both feet, and they're both pretty nasty. And I would take free kicks with Coach Stad at the end of practice just for the heck of it. And um and he even was like, oh, you're a goalkeeper and you can shoot like that. I'm like, yeah, like yeah, I can. So it's like it's all fun and games, but like yeah, I would love to be a striker, but I'm gonna be a goalkeeper probably for the rest of my life, so I'm not gonna change anything from that. Yeah, be tall.
Filipinos, yeah,
It's fun.
you're because Filipinos are considered like one of the shortest people in the world. So like the average is 5'1" for
Yeah.
women, I think 5'4" or 5'5" for men. But do you think height is is relevant as an evaluative tool for keepers? Do you really have to be tall to be like a good keeper, you think?
Oh, definitely not. Honestly, no, I don't think height really matters because for me, if you really want to work to be a keeper, you'll put in the work. So you can work on your plyos, your jumps, your dives, anything. Because if you can do those things, then you could be a great keeper. I remember growing up, I went to a camp for college, and the keeper coach was shorter than me, and I was 13. She's 4'11". So her name is Eileen Reyes. So she played or plays for Brazil. So she's about 4'11", 5 feet tall. But she can dive like a cat. It was so impressive, like seeing her dive. I was like, you're this big, but you can dive this big. So like seeing like I would have girls that I coached younger, and they're short, and they're like, well, I'm sure. Like, am I going to be a good keeper? Like, yes. If you're really want to work to be a goalkeeper, and you have to put aside all of that negativity, negative thoughts, like, well, I'm too short, I'm too small, like I can't be a keeper, because I had to go through that. Because yes, I'm pretty lanky, I'm pretty tall, but I am very skinny. So anytime someone asks me, oh, what position do you play? And I always say, what position do you think I play? First answer is always striker or center back, because I'm tall and lean. And I'm like, no. But when I tell them I'm a goalkeeper, they're like, you're not a goalkeeper. You're too small. Like, you're too skinny. And I'm like, well, first of all, weight shouldn't matter. Not like image of a person shouldn't matter. It's the heart that they have for the position. And me being a goalkeeper for 17 years, I have put my blood, sweat, and tears in my training. Like, to me, size shouldn't matter for any position. And yeah, like I don't think height really has to do anything with it. Like for example, Ina's shorter than I am, and she can bound from left to right, up and down, quick as a cat. So it has nothing to do with height. Like, honestly, it's fine. It has like it doesn't matter if you're 4'2", 5'10", 6'1". Like, as long as you have the heart for the position, you should be able to perform.
Gotcha. And I'm not sure if you know about this, but before uh previously the national team really didn't have like a dedicated keeper coach for so for someone like Ina, for most of her years she was learning and training on her own, and she'd only get like a dedicated coach to train with her during camps, I suppose. So what aspects
Mhm.
of keeper training or coaching in the national team has helped you improve as a keeper?
So definitely, like we have had changes in keeper coaches, and it is difficult, like for any player, not even just me, to adapt to different coaches. And obviously, the team has had different coaches, so we have to adapt to what they want, what they're asking of us, the positioning and everything. For goalkeepers, is an entire different story, because they maybe some of them would want you to move a certain way or do a certain thing, and or kick a certain way, kick the same different distance or whatever. But with me, with Coach Ludo, for example, I in my head, with when I think of how I like practice now with Coach David, I could never, like when I would get the ball, I can't just like toss it back to him. I literally would have to hand it back to Ludo, because it shows that sign of respect for my teammates. Like, okay, you don't want the balls to be flying and mess up their rep. So that's something I learned from him. And even like my technical, I out like all my low dives, I learned that, like, instead of just kind of like reacting and sweeping my body up from under, I kind of shoot my hand, and that helped me with the length of like my lower dives. With Coach Jim, he taught me like kind of more so on like my power of my kicks. He really was focused on like how I, not necessarily how hard I can kick it, but like being able to balance my power and my accuracy. He definitely taught me a lot of tricks, a lot of things. With Coach David, he has taught me to be relaxed in the goal. He has taught me to like different things with crossing and how I should position myself, and like how my body should be turned. So I don't just ignore what I've learned from the past. I just add it to my arsenal. I'm like, okay, well, this is what he's teach me, but I'm going to implement this. Different situations, I'll use different things that different coaches taught me. So I don't just ignore things. Like I still do things from when I was 12 from my old keeper coach. So I always have something that I will always take with me, and I'll just keep adding and adding and adding. I don't ever forget anything.
Gotcha. And there's a lot of talk about the penalty shootout during the World Cup, about Martinez's behavior, like his mind games during the penalty shootout. If you were to be a keeper in a penalty shootout, are you the type to play mind games or just be, in the zone and block the shots?
I'm definitely a mixture of both. I like to play mind games because I like to see them freak out, but I also like to be very serious to the point like I will get in their head because I'm very calm. Um, I'm not gonna give away any of my secrets, but like yeah, I do like a little bit of both. Because like I said, I also study like my teammates, for example. I remember where they shoot, but they know that I know, and they'll switch it. So it's like, oh, I'm just like, I got it, it's fine. So like stuff like that. Like I like to be a little bit of both. Like maybe I'll like go up to them, I'll put the ball down for them, and I'll intimidate them, or I'll like clap and move my hands, kind of just distract them in some way. I'll always do a little something, either if it's serious, if it's goofy, but like if they see me being goofy, then it'll set their mind like, oh well, she's not taking this serious, so it'll be an easy shot. But internally for me, it's like, oh, I got you. I have you in my palm of my hand, so then I'll be able to stop the shot. So like I'm definitely a balance of the two. I'm never too serious, but I'm never also not serious. So I can definitely change it either or, and people don't know because I'm usually very apathetic when it comes to PK shootouts. So yeah, like you never know what you're gonna get. Depends on like how the shootout goes. So it's like okay, like it's like a jack of all trades. You never know what you're gonna get.
Gotcha. And my fave keepers are Gigi Buffon on the men's and then Hope Solo on the women's side. Who is your fave keeper?
So women's, we have to have the same one. So Solo. A lot of people don't like her because of her attitude, but for me, I'm like, she is a bad bee. Like I like you. I want to be you when I grow up, and I followed her and I've watched her, and it's just like, dang, I want to be her. I wanted to be her. And the fact like with her, she wasn't even a goalkeeper all her life. She was a midfielder. She's like one of the best midfielders in Washington. She gets to University of Washington. She got changed into a goalkeeper. So I was like, dang, you went from a mid to at that league? Okay. And she was one of the best. Okay. I was like, yep, I like her. I'm gonna follow you. I'm always gonna like you. Men's, I do like Ter Stegen because I do love Barcelona, but I also like Courtois, even though my dad is gonna see this. He'd be like, "You like Madrid's keeper?" I'm like, "Yeah." I like I said, he's tall and lanky, but the saves he makes is like because usually when you're tall, like super tall, like he is, people are like spectators are gonna think, "Oh, well, he's tall, he's not gonna get down on the lower shots." But oh my gosh, that man can get down so fast. Wow. And then obviously with Ter Stegen, my God, that man can make the most hard saves ever. Like make him look so like, oh, here. And it's just like, how do you do that? And he's just like, and I like how confident he is, and like the team feeds off that confidence. And I love that he always demands perfection from everyone. So it's like I definitely have like little aspects of things I watch from keepers. I watch and train with men keepers. I watch and train with women keepers. So I always kind of feed off of what they're giving, and I sometimes bring it into my own game and see if that works for me. And if it does, I keep it. If it doesn't, then I kind of forget about it. So
Gotcha. And is there anything that you're currently working on to improve your game? Does it make physically, mentally, for the upcoming camps in the World Cup?
so mentally, for me, it's a lot of mental. I definitely I always want to boost up my confidence and like knowing like I belong here, and I like want to like show everyone like I do belong here. I worked for this number on my back. I know Coach Allen has said they're just renting this jersey. It's not theirs permanently, but I want this jersey to be mine permanently. Like I want to show like I'm here for it and I'm working for it and I will stay here until you literally will need to rip that off, cut my arms off to get the jersey back. So with that mental aspect, it's like I'm hard. Like that I got this. Physically, I was working more so on like the direction, not direction, but like usually like sometimes I would dive like not like super lateral, but like I've been working on like that making it more forward. Um I've been working on my goal kicks with the power side of it. I've been working on like the higher shots, like use instead of using my underarm, I've been using my top hand. So those have been definitely like things I was focusing on before I moved here, and I continue to so focus on when I do shots with who I'm working with. So it's like I'm always working on something. There's never something that I'm like, oh, I got it. It's fine. I don't need to work on it. There's always something for me that I need to improve on, whether it's my diving, my jumps, my handling. Like I'm not perfect. No one's perfect. So there's always room for improvement.
Gotcha. And Scotland and Iceland already released their rosters for the Benatar Cup. Is there any player that you're looking forward to play against or block a shot from?
I don't have anyone in specific. There shouldn't really be anyone in specific. Just the fact that we're able to compete with the caliber of these teams from Europe. I'm ready for anyone. I will challenge anyone from that team to take a shot on me. And if I'm able to block it, then it's like, yeah, see, yeah, we're a smaller country than you are. Doesn't mean anything. We have our pride. We have our Pinoy pride. We're ready. We're ready to fight, and we're not going to go down without one. So no one is specific. I'm not saying that's like a bad thing, as a bad thing, but for me, it's like we'll take on anyone for sure. Like doesn't matter who's in front of me. Like I said, I went against the best striker in the world. I didn't see her as like, oh my god, it's Sam Kerr. But I saw her as another player that I can take on, that I'm confident in stopping. So it's like it's fine. It's like yeah, I'm good. Yeah, same thing with the Pinatar. I'm ready to if I get a chance to represent the team on one of those games. I'll be ready for whoever. So I'm really excited to reunite with the girls. I haven't seen them in about 2 months. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun seeing them all again and us being able to work on the field all together again for sure, especially for the first time in the new year. So I'm very excited to see everyone.
Right. And we know who will be up against in the World Cup. What are your thoughts on that? And how confident are you that we can make it to the knockouts?
Oh, 100%. I think we can definitely get out of this group. Like, yes, they're all very good teams. Not gonna lie, I remember I was in Arizona with my college team. We had a game the next day, but I stayed up until like 1, 2 in the morning watching the entire selection because I like remember the girls, we had like a Zoom with everyone. We were all watching it, and then I had one of my teammates and then like 3 of the men from the men's team from their staff. They watched it with me. And to me, the fact that they supported me, even though this is had nothing to do with them, was amazing. So seeing the group that and like my parents were watching with me, I had them on my phone and I had the girls on my iPad. So I was like, okay, I got both of them. But seeing the group that we were in, that we got in, I like wholeheartedly believe we definitely can get out of this group because we've played New Zealand before in our one of our LA camps, and we were able to hold on. We almost beat them. So I was like, we can that team we can definitely beat. Norway, we've studied them. We've studied them very hard. Like they don't like yes, they're an amazing team. Their attack, unbelievable. Their height, them in Switzerland, unbelievable. So it's like, but we are able to control our movement. And I think if we keep doing what Coach Stadge and Coach Naz have been telling us to do, we'll be able to win the group. Doesn't even we're not going for maybe second, maybe the top two. No, we want first, and we're going to fight for it. And I wholeheartedly believe that we're gonna get it, and we're gonna keep making history, and we're gonna make it to the round of 16. We're gonna get it to the final. We want the cup. We're gonna be that. We're gonna pull a Saudi Arabia, and like no one's gonna believe what. Like they're gonna be like, what, the Philippines? Yeah, that's gonna be us. But instead of like getting eliminated, we're gonna go until the very end. That's just I'm manifesting that.
I love it. We all are. We all are. Thank you. So now we go to the social media questions. So let's see. Okay. Andrew Aquino wants to know, okay, you've answered this. What's your favorite goalkeeper? Which do you prefer, singing or dancing?
Oh, definitely singing. My gosh, there has been so many videos that my sister has taken of me dancing, and they're all super exciting. Hopefully, she doesn't see this and she'll be like, "I'm just gonna leak this." Like I think for me, singing because I can do it like privately and no
Mm,
one can hear me. I can do it in the shower. I can do it while I'm driving, anything. And like, man, my mom, my boyfriend, like they would say, "Oh, you can sing." Like, I'm like, "But you're being too nice. Stop. Don't even tell me that. I know I suck. Just stop." So like, it's fun. Like, I rather sing than dance. I can't dance for the life of me. If it was life or death to dance, I would not make it. It would be so bad.
here's to hoping someone would actually leak it. Video. All right, from Gail Canensha. From Gail Canensha, not sure if you're she or she wants to know during a penalty kick against a left-footed kicker, do you dive left or right?
Mhm. Okay, yeah, I saw. Okay, so definitely with left-footed kickers, it's difficult in general that they are able to close their hips and open their hips a lot easier than a right. They're like it's harder to dictate, more difficult. It can be difficult to dictate, but hmm, for me, I react. I don't with PKs. Really, it's harder to anticipate than react. But I usually can tell where they're going because the way they start their run up. So usually, if their run up is too narrow, they're gonna cross, like they're gonna go across their body. So that's when I'm trying to think backwards. That's when I would dive to my left. But when their run up is really wide, they're gonna keep their momentum just kind of going that way. So that's when I would dive to my right. So it really depends for me when I study is how they run up to the ball because but then you have the ones that like do the little zigzag thing, then it's like, okay, I'm just gonna have to guess. Because it's like you never know where they're going. Like Neymar does that. I always
Right.
try to guess. Uh, but yeah, usually I think for me it depends on like the way that they run up to it.
All right, thank you. Ian Civilio wants to know what's the best and the hardest thing about being a keeper.
Hardest is knowing that you're not going to be in every play of the game and then you have to be like on it the entire game, which can be mentally draining because you always have to be turned on. You can never turn off. And then probably the best thing, I think I said this before, being able to still be a part of the 11, even though you're not in every play. And like you're as important as a forward, you're as important as a center back and knowing that going into the game with that mentality, you're as important as everyone else. I think for me, that's the best part. Like we're all here to win the game. It doesn't matter what position you play. And like I said, I've been playing this position for 17 years. So yeah, like for me, the best part is definitely like being able to be that last man in the back and having my teammates have that confidence in me when I play in the back with them.
Gotcha. Angelica Tenyosa's question, I think we've already answered this about what was going through your mind when you were the keeper against Australia. Ryan wants to know what motivates you and what training did you do before trying out for the team?
So for me, motivation was definitely my dad. Um, like I said, he and my mom, of course, but he definitely it was definitely like a really hard journey. Like I said previously, like having to go through paperwork, having to go through time, like not knowing what's happening. Um, but yeah, that definitely was a very big motivation. That was like my top was him. The second one was like myself, of course. For me, I didn't have the best like I would say like experience when I went into my universities because a lot of there's drama, there's a lot of things that happen, like a lot of coaching changes. So for me, I had a lot to prove not only to myself but to others. Like, hey, like I'm as good as you guys. You shouldn't like belittle me in any way. So like if like you see me, like you're gonna be watching me. And then what? Then like how are you gonna be able to say the thing you were saying before? You can't. And I don't think anyone should be belittled what level they play, what whenever they come into the new school or whatever. So for me, that was also a very big motivator. I had a point to prove for me. Training wise, I was working with my now goalkeeper coach, Logan Adams. I've met him before I went to my college. He helped me with like gaining my confidence back in playing. He helped me like extend my dive more, my height on the dives, the me meeting the ball in the air. He has helped me through and through with a lot of things, and I couldn't have asked any better for a personal keeper coach. My keeper coach on the national team, he's amazing. I love him. I love all three of the ones that we've had. David has been doing an amazing job when it comes to like training all three of us. And four, if you add Kaya Hota, he has been super welcoming and he's been super open to like what we think. And he kind of just works his training around like how we did the day before. Like, oh, maybe we should focus on this more, or we'll do like another thing the next day. But the next day after that, we'll focus on what we wanted to work on. So I like that he's able to adapt very quickly, especially with the time constraint we have. But yeah, I think I'm always working on something. There's never something that I kind of just leave. So yeah, there's always room for improvement. And yeah, I didn't really work on anything specific. It was always my dives, my kicks, my power, my accuracy. Like I always have to go through that table.
All right. And from Bolivs, he wants to know, which goalie do you try to model your game from?
Definitely hope so. I'm not gonna lie. I said, I like the way that she carried herself and the way like she's able like being a woman, like you're gonna have a lot of doubters, you're gonna have a lot of haters. Especially with her, she had the attitude. She like, lack of a better term, she was a bitch. But you know what? It got her a World Cup medal. So it's like a World Cup trophy. So it's like, see, I want to be like that. I want to be able to make those saves that like seem impossible or seem like what the heck? How do you make those saves? So I definitely would. I kind of like. I don't exactly kind of morph my game from her, but I take pieces from each person I like work with. I take pieces from my personal coach. I take pieces from Ludo, from Coach Jim, from David, from Olivia, from Ina, from Kai Hota. Like I'm always taking things and like adapting and adding it to my arsenal because it could eventually help me or it could help me in my game. So there's nothing that specific, like I said, nothing specific for me. I'm always modeling. I'm always changing everything that I'm doing.
And last question from Ian. Where does you see yourself 5 or 10 years from now?
Definitely playing professional. I definitely want to try to go into the pro league. It's definitely been a dream of mine. I want to be able to represent myself well, represent the Philippines well. I would love to maybe even be married. I think like I'm finishing school, so I have my degree. That's another big thing for me. I gotta finish school. I'm a very big person on education. But yeah, definitely, hopefully in the pro leagues. I don't know where yet. I would love to play in Spain or France or England, one of those top three. I would love to be on Barcelona women's because the way that they play, I'm always like, wow, like it's so entertaining to watch. So hopefully having that opportunity to be a part of that team would definitely be like a highlight of my career. I would be like, okay, like if I played 1 year with them, I'll be like, all right, I'm good. That's it. But like I would just be like not only starstruck because like I've watched them play, but like being able to call myself, oh yeah, I was a Barcelona woman. Like no one could take that away from me. So hopefully, yeah, I'll definitely either be playing Spain, England, or France. One of those three for sure.
Gotcha. And well, that's all the questions from social media. So it's time for the rapid fire section of the pod. So I don't
Oh
want
yeah.
you to think Just first thing that comes to mind, give an answer or choose an answer as quickly as you can. Okay.
Got it. Ready.
All right. Okay. Ready? One thing you have to have with you when you travel with the team.
AirPods.
Something you've always wanted to try but are too afraid to do.
Skydiving.
Back three or back four.
Back four.
Save a penalty or step up to take one.
Definitely save.
Making a save from a 1v1 or a save from a free kick outside the box.
1v1. Oh my god, 1v1. All day.
Getting a clean sheet where the ball barely reaches you or winning a game but you conceded.
Ooh. Winning a game.
Starting the build up of an attack from the back with the defenders or kick it long straight to the attackers.
Oh, building it from the back for sure. I want to get everyone involved.
Gotcha. That's it. And my last question is, how do you like your coffee? And if you don't drink coffee, what is your preferred beverage?
Sweet. I love sweet coffee. I worked at Starbucks for a year. I learned how to make coffee, so I am a very sweet person. I love to have sweet coffee, but my boyfriend's a lot worse because he likes more sugar than I do. So it's like, geez, I thought I liked sugar. My gosh. But yeah, I love sweet coffee. I like to taste the coffee. Like, but the thing is, I'm actually more of a tea drinker because coffee makes me very jittery, but
Gotcha.
tea keeps me awake, but not jittery. So like for me, I usually drink coffee when I'm studying, but I'll drink tea today. So
perfect. And lastly, Kiara, your message to the Filipino football community.
I just want to say thank you so much for all the love and support you have for my family and I, and they are my family, whether we're united by blood or not. I hope you all continue to give your love and support throughout this whole campaign that we are a part of. And I cannot wait to show some pride, have Pinoy pride, show our heart of gold on the field in Australia and in New Zealand. And hopefully we make you proud and we make it all the way to the final and win that cup for the country.
All right. Thank you. That's it. Thank you,
All right.
Kiara.
I'll see you soon then, hopefully.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.